Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 101. Looky here, kids, we've got another surprise for you. Chris Chapman and I are doing it in person at the Origin Podcast Studios located in some secret lair hideout bunker somewhere in Las Vegas. We're not going to tell you where it is because, frankly, we don't want you to show up. But if you're interested in doing your podcast, we'll definitely make that connection for you. This episode, like all others, is brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor at www.lasvegasadvisor.com, by my very good friend Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, agelessforever.net, and by Joe Riccio and Boris over at the Marathon Law Group, www.marathonlawgroup.com. You know, the last couple episodes, we keep forgetting to plug the ticket giveaway until the very end, so I came with notes.
Look at this.
I came prepared. So let's talk about the Golden Giveaway. The game is the 22nd of March. It is a 7 p.m. Saturday night game against the mighty Detroit Red Wings. What you win is 2 lower bowl tickets, free parking, and a pregame dinner with Chris Chapman and I at the El Dorado Cantina on Sammy Davis Jr., just up the street from the T-Mobile Arena, from the Fortress. We need you to subscribe to the podcast, like it. We'll comment Stone. We'll use Stone. Captain Mark Stone. Put Stone in the comments if you want to get an entry. We'll have the drawing in a couple of weeks, the week before the game. You'll have to go down to the offices so we can do a little promo photography at the Marathon Law Group where the tickets are. Listen, folks, no other podcast gives you free tickets, free parking, free food, arguably the best Mexican food in town. We're just begging for subscribers like we talked about in all the other episodes. So that's the ticket plug for the Golden Giveaway brought to you by Marathon Law Group. Now we're going to get down to the episode. Currently, the Vegas Golden Knights Chapman are 36-18-6. They have 78 points. Their goals, again, they are plus 33 in goal differential. They're leading the Pacific Division, the third in the Western Conference behind Winnipeg, who's literally running away with it, and Dallas. 6th overall, just a little bit back of Toronto and Florida, but they have games in hand. Mm-hmm. We're there. We're in the stretch run. I mean, are you happy with how things are going?
Yeah, I think you should be. I mean, you have a team that's in first place currently, 78 points, and the good news is the LA Kings, after they beat the Golden Knights last week, they've lost 3 straight. And have not played well. They got smoked by the Blackhawks, smoked by the Blues. I can't remember who the third team was that beat them. But and then Edmonton hasn't been playing well either. They had lost a bunch in a row. I think they did get a W last night.
Overtime, I think.
Overtime win. So the good news is, while the Golden Knights, they lost that game to LA, the good news is the 2 teams chasing you in the division have gone on a losing streak, and you've now won 2 consecutive games since that LA game, and you've got the Toronto Maple Leafs rolling into town. I think that's a 50-50 game. Then you got the Pittsburgh Penguins on Friday night, trade deadline day, and listen, that's a game the Golden Knights should win. And then you've got the LA Kings in a rematch. I believe it's the last time this season that they play.
I think so.
Los Angeles. So, for the record, I hate watching the LA Kings play.
Awful.
Like
it's a slog.
Yeah, and listen, full credit to them. They've embraced that system, and they've got some really good players, and we talked a bit about it last week because I know we did the show after that LA Kings game, but it's one of those games that I just never really look forward to.
No.
Because it's just you're right, it's a slog. It's a muck it up fest, and you know, they have some really talented players that I like. I love watching Anze Kopitar, and Quentin Byfield is a guy who I think is going to become a household name among hockey fans very soon if he's not already there. So, you know, they have good quality players, but then you've got that was the last game. So then you go on the road for your final long road trip of the year. But this is a big 3-game stretch for the Golden Knights, I think, because you've got a situation where the teams behind you aren't playing great, and you've got some winnable games. I think we said 7 points would be
that's the number that I like.
The barometer for where this team is at. Look, you can look at the 2 games, and it's funny. Following the Blackhawk game, I was in the this was shit. kind of mode. But after a few days and thinking about it, my opinion on that game has actually changed quite a bit.
More like Bruce's?
Yeah, and I get to ask Bruce, I get to ask Bruce first two questions following every game at home.
Thankfully, you're doing
a fairly
okay
job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Room for improvement, but
yeah.
Okay.
But I right away went to the negativity following the Chicago game, not focusing on the fact that this was a team that had scored only 5 goals in their previous 2 games following the return to play. They put up 7. They had 5 in the first period. And
they had 3 before you even got to the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of before I could grab my popcorn and put my fat ass in the seat.
Right.
They're already up 3-1. But I listened to some of what he said. I listened to some of the post-game in media from the players. And I got the sense that they never really felt that Chicago was going to come back and win that game. Maybe they took their foot off the gas a little bit. But, Eddie, they scored 7 goals, and we kind of beat them up over the fact that they gave up 5. The weird thing is, Sunday they beat the Devils by the same exact deficit, 2 goals, same exact margin, not deficit, same margin, 2 goals. But yet everybody looks at that game and they're like, "Woo, that was a great game."
Well, you can't. You're throwing everything into the bath, and first of all, there's no comparison versus the opponents.
Right.
I mean, that's the
Devils are
the
a far superior team to Chicago.
A far superior team to Chicago. And the style of play, as Bruce indicated when we talked to him after the game, they have a bunch of young kids and they're kind of finding their way around and learning the NHL game. So they're more inclined to play open, more like shinny, like pond hockey, right?
Well, they're also learning a brand new system.
Right. The New Jersey Devils are in the heat of a playoff run. They're not playing for their playoff lives. I think they're a pretty solid bet to get into the playoffs.
Well, depends now with Jack Hughes.
And we're gonna get to that game and the couple of weirdnesses and our visit with our good friend Paul Cotter in a second.
Yeah.
But the game in New Jersey 3 weeks ago, I maintain now, still the best game they played, stem to stern, front to back, that they played this year.
Yeah.
It was so good, it was boring.
It was opposite of the game that they played in New Jersey a year ago.
Right.
Complete opposite.
Where Bruce
was not happy.
Said some really bad things.
He was heated.
He was heated.
Yeah.
But the game against New Jersey was a playoff level, well executed. Listen, Bruce has said a number of times, we need our special teams. And after they come back from the Four Nations, the power play and penalty kill, not great, but the power play won them the game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to put it. But I don't think it's a fair comparison at all. Yes, they scored 7 goals. Yes, they all got a little fatter in the statistics department. If you have to find the positives, I guess those are them.
Well, look at the third line, though. I mean,
right, but
that's 9 points between.
That's the biggest takeaway, in my opinion, from the game was how incredible. I mean, they dominated every shift on the ice.
What I found interesting about that line was what Bruce said about them. How you're really not sure how it's going to work because you have
3 north-south players.
Right.
Just right.
Guys
3 guys go up and down their wings.
Who are not afraid to bowl people over, use their size and their strength.
Right. But he didn't know who the playmakers were how they were going to make plays.
Exactly. But Brett Howden, to me, like he didn't get a goal.
So good, though.
But he had a bunch of assists in that game. He centers that line. Him and Keegan Kolesar, they work so well together. I know they're very close off the ice.
And we've talked about that since training camp, right?
Yeah.
And Bruce said too many times to count. From the day they arrived,
they came in.
Those 2 were the absolute standouts in camp, right? And we asked both of them separately, their training regiment, they trained together in the off season. Everything they did was a little bit different than what they had done in previous seasons, right? And their play has been a direct result of whatever the hell they did, right? Bottle it, right?
Yeah.
Bottle it. Because Keegan Colasar, went through a bit of a slump, started out gangbusters, went through quite a lull, but started scoring again. Howden hasn't quite scored again, but his apples are starting to pile up, right? The mojo is coming back for that line.
Barbashev was in a similar situation.
Oh my God, Barbashev hadn't scored since he came off LTIR or IR or whatever.
3 goals in 4 games,
and now he's going, and that looks like the line you absolutely don't break up, and that's nightmare hell because that's the Golden Knights' third line.
Yeah,
right.
Well, and the other thing is the second line. I thought Tomas Hertl to me has been their best probably player since the return.
I would agree with that.
I feel like he's been their most consistent, but the little things that he does and what I appreciate about him is
so strong.
Well, he always seems to be loose. Like you watch him play and it doesn't look like he gets phased by anything on the ice. He's such a cool customer.
He seems just happy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, every time we see him in the locker room, win, loss, good game, bad game,
he's consistent.
It's like he has this incredible, I don't know what the word is.
Just an aura.
Just aura, or just he has this infectious love for the game, and he's not so full of himself that he's an NHL player. He seems to respect the fact that he is an NHL player.
Yeah.
And I would say in the last 20 games, we've seen maybe 20 or 30 games, we've seen the Tomas Hertl that we traded for. We know when we traded for him, he wasn't healthy, right? He manned up. He went through the playoff run, but we knew he hadn't fully recovered from the knee surgery.
Right.
Right. But I think 13 power play goals, right?
He's got a lot. Yeah.
He's got a boatload. He's him and Dorofeyev they're both one off the team record for power play goals. And, they've been incredible. But, I mean, I don't think there's anything you can really be upset about. I mean, do you realize the team is 5-1 in their last 6?
I think you lose track of that because of the 2-week break.
Yeah, it really, I mean, if you count the Jersey game and the Boston game before the break, right? I heard it on the NHL Network a couple of days ago. They're the sleepiest, quietest 5-1 in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good thing because, they are a frontline team. They are, by all accounts, by anybody who knows anything about hockey anyways, they are a legitimate Stanley Cup contender as constructed. Sure, we hope for and we think that their chances would be significantly improved with William Karlsson and Shea Theodore back in the lineup. But, 5-1 in the last 6, 2-0 on the homestand, which is 5 games. If we say 7, you don't want to give anybody, automatic, but you think Pittsburgh gets them to 6, they should be able to get 1 point between the Leafs, who lost to San Jose and blew a 2-0 lead in the third period yesterday, and the LA Kings. So 7 is a really realistic number. And like you said, the other teams are not making any hay in the sunshine. Maybe they can open up that game, that points lead 6 or 7, because the 2-3 matchup in the Pacific is going to be the hell matchup.
Yeah.
Whoever it is
not going to. And I think if you're Vegas, right now you'd play the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs.
I like those series.
Yeah. I mean, I think Colorado has a lot of questions. They are without Mikko Rantanen, obviously. And that's a whole nother.
But when we're going to get to that after a couple of breaks, we're gonna get into the trade deadline, since it is 72 hours and 20 minutes away from the deadline.
I think though, when you look at the standings, obviously in the Pacific, the Golden Knights are right where they want to be.
Yeah,
but I think if they were in second, I don't think they would sweat it. Now,
I don't think they sweat anything.
The key to me,
come on, I don't think they give one shit. Get us to the dance, and we'll take our chances.
The only team right now that they have a conceivable chance to play that I don't want to see them play is the Kings. I just think that that's a matchup that presents trouble for them. I think they'll beat the Oilers. Now, Oilers making a move at the trade week.
Deadline week, sure.
And it was a guy that you and I both like in Trent Frederick.
Yeah.
So this is a team that's going to go all in, but Trent Frederick doesn't put the Oilers over the top.
No,
it's a flies off the honey type of.
But he's what they needed. They need a dependable bottom six,
guy
3C or 4C. Somehow they got Boston to eat some salary, and there was another.
The guy doesn't make that much money,
right? There's two retentions in, and I can't remember because we were driving. Heard the trade as we were driving in, but
I think
it's a good deal for them. It's not. I mean, it's a guy we wouldn't have minded having here.
Yeah, we both liked him. We both like him as a player
for sure.
So I think it's a good move for Edmonton. I'm not going to say, it would have been a great move for Vegas, and say it's not a good move for the Oilers. Because I think it is a good move for the Oilers, but it's not a Stanley Cup winning move. It's a guy who and I don't think they're done. I think Edmonton is going to try to make a splash. I think they have to. I think you have to go out there and make the splash.
Well, before we get into that, let's get our first break in. Let's get a word in from Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, and when we come back, we'll talk about the trade deadline. We'll talk about all the LTIR space that teams suddenly have. You call it the Mark Stone rule or you don't call it the Mark Stone rule. But before there was one team, in that position, now there's 3 legitimate cup contenders in that. So we'll be right back after a word from Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever. So if there's a little bit too much whip in the shaft of your hockey stick, and you want to be able to hit the back of the net, here's your answer, but I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I'm going to let my good friend Dr. Pierce tell you exactly what this bad boy is, and prepare to be amazed.
This is the Phoenix Pro. This is a home unit to deliver extracorporeal, I call it sound wave therapy. The technical term is shock wave therapy.
Here's where we get to the fun stuff, kids.
Hey. They applied it to their genitalia, and they found that yes, indeed, it improves blood flow. We talk about male genitalia. What is an erection? It is a blood flow issue. So if you're having issues and you've gone to see your doctor, you've had your testosterone balanced, and you're doing those things, and it's working great. If you're finding that you're using a medication like Viagra, Cialis, something like that, and you're finding less and less effect, that means that the blood flow isn't as good. Something like this can help to mitigate that issue.
So let me break this down for you in layman's terms. If your junk is more like a pool noodle than a pool cue, it's going to make your junk hard. Dr. John Pierce, Ageless Forever, www.agelessforever.net. Don't be shy. Send a message. The first consultation is free. You'll meet with Dr. Pierce personally. You'll have the ability to share whatever it is you want to share. This bad boy works. So, something for you to think about. www.agelessforever.net. Send a message, take advantage of the free consultation, and let's get you to be the best you can be. Okay, chap, we are 72 hours and 15 minutes away from the trade deadline. Some of the pieces that we thought were going to get moved are moved. Seth Jones is a Florida Panther for Spencer Knight and some draft picks going back to Chicago. We just talked about Trent Frederick. The Rangers made another move. Can't tell if they're selling off or just moving some pieces around. But that's not really the trade deadline stuff that I want to talk about. Dallas has $9 or $10 million in LTIR money. Edmonton still has some Evander Kane LTIR money. Matthew Tkachuk, all of a sudden, well, I shouldn't say all of a sudden because it was yesterday, ended up on LTIR, and he's out for the rest of the regular season. $8.5 million of LTIR money. Right now, we have William Karlsson on LTIR. I'll bet you a bagel by Friday, Shea Theodore goes on LTIR. That gives the Golden Knights 11, I think we said it was 11.2. It's a big number, 11.1 or 11.2 or something like that. Now, I would never say anything besmirching Kelly McCrimmon. But if you listen to his last 4 or 5 or 6 media things, he said repeatedly we're going to be quiet at the trade deadline.
Yeah, that to me.
And I don't know if it was in Shakespeare or where it came from, but thou doth protest too much. And Danny Webster diligently asked him the question and got the answer and reported what he got. I still am not buying it, dude. I refuse to believe that Friday at 12:01 in the afternoon Pacific time, the Golden Knights are going to have $11.2 million of unspendable, not used.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not taking that salary. Like they
can't.
Who
Right?
was the old comedian that they always joked was Red Fox was buried with all that money?
Yeah.
Right? Because he owed the IRS a ton of money that he was buried with all his money. Like the Golden Knights are not going to be buried with.
Can't, dude.
No, listen.
They can't.
Personally, and I don't have any inside information, I do think William Karlsson we see before the end of the season. I don't think he's done for the year. Shea Theodore, my guess, listen, again.
He broke his wrist. It's 6 to 8 weeks. He's done.
He's not going to be back before. He may not even be back for the start of the playoffs.
Well, who told us on the road that they think William Karlsson is skating? Was it Paul? Somebody said to me that they think Karlsson is skating.
I didn't hear that conversation.
Yeah, it happened at the last game. So okay. So say
even if you have the $5 million from Shea Theodore,
okay, you still have. I refuse to accept the premise that the Golden Knights are going to be not active. And I think, there are Greg Wisniewski from ESPN. All these people put out their trade lists, right? Top 25 players, top 40 players available for trade, stuff like that. The beautiful thing is there's never a Golden Knight on them, right? We're not ever been in the seller column. I maintain, and listen, you can tell me I'm an idiot after the trade deadline when this is wrong. There's going to be a trade like the Hannafin deal. It may not happen at 11:58 when the trade call goes into the central office. With salary cap certainty, basically, for the next 3 years. They know it's going to go up incrementally. In 3 years, it's going to be $103 or $104 million. These capologist guys, these mathematical fucking wizards that hang out in the back and they feed cupcakes and pretzels and keep them in dark rooms.
Yeah,
right?
Not me, for sure.
Right? Those guys are thinking, this is what we can do, not only for the 24-25 season, but all the way to 27-28. And listen, the cupboard is bare, right? The Golden Knights cupboard is bare. They don't have a draft pick till the 27 draft, right? They don't have a ton of prospects. I patently refuse to accept that they're standing pat or only going to make a little tinky tweeter, a nothing deal. I maintain that in his pocket somewhere, there's going to be a home run swing. Brady Shea. Right? Is that the one? Shen.
Braden Shen.
Brady Shea. Shen.
There is a Brady Shea.
Right. No, Shen.
Who spells it like Skeege or
right.
Yeah.
The one in St. Louis.
St. Louis, yes.
Right? Yep. And listen. Every year, the Golden Knights, the pundits, Elliot Friedman, Cervelli, all those guys, the Golden Knights are in on everybody. Of course they're in on everybody. They're the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Mikko Rantanen size deal, and I don't know how the hell they would pull it off because they would have to strip the cupboard bare and break up some of the lineup that they have now.
Yeah.
But dude.
Yeah.
And
because first of all, that's not working in Carolina.
It's not working in Carolina. And he doesn't seem to be showing any inclination whatsoever that he wants to re-sign there. That owner, Dundon or whatever. Tom Dundon is a Dunsky.
Well,
right?
He's actually apparently a very intelligent guy, but this is not a move.
He's not very intelligent in hockey ownership.
No.
right?
No,
he's
this is
the Vladimir Zelensky of negotiations.
well, first
apparently,
of all, he gave up a ton to get Mikko Rantanen, which is understandable. But I'll get into that later. But as far as the Golden Knights, I cannot imagine that
they can't,
unless the only way they're not making a move is if they know that both of these guys are going to be back healthy before the end of the season. And
then they can't. Then they can't use the cap money.
Right.
That's an automatic.
Right. But I don't believe that Shea Theodore will be back before the playoffs. I just don't believe it.
He's not going to be.
I think William Karlsson will be.
Okay.
I don't think Shea Theodore will be. So,
but
that gives you about $6 million that you have to play with.
Okay,
so,
but if Karlsson, say he is, we're recording this on Tuesday, March the 4th.
Right.
Right? The season ends on the 16th.
Yeah.
Right? So that is, according to my very fast math, 6 weeks.
Yeah, about 6 weeks, yeah.
Okay. So if he's ready to go in 4, right?
Right.
Do you let him play that 2 weeks, or do you take a shot and use his $5.2 million in cap space?
No, I'm not playing him at all.
Right. Why?
There's no point.
Right.
Now, obviously, if he's healthy and you're putting him up on the cupboard, hoping that you're able to slide under the radar, you get your ass in some big time trouble with that. So
you could, but
because again, we have to go through this because there's idiots out there who think that a team is cheating by using the LTIR advantage that's built into the CBA.
Agreed to by the owners.
Yes.
Right?
Teams are not able to put a guy because they have to get seen by independent doctors.
Right.
And no one seems to be giving a shit that the Florida Panthers just put Matthew Tkachuk on LTIR. They acquired Seth Jones, which I think for them is actually a good move because I think Seth Jones will be better in Florida than he was.
He kind of has to be better than he's been.
You know, and that's a guy who it's kind of a weird trajectory with him because he was drafted by Nashville. He was okay with the Preds. Goes to Columbus. I think he's a really good player with the Blue Jackets. Maybe because he's playing with Zach Werenski, who I think proved that he's an all-world defenseman.
Norris caliber for sure.
Then he goes to Chicago with this huge contract. Chicago sucks. There's nothing around him. He's not very good. Now he goes to Florida. He's on a cup contending team. Now, that team lost a bit, right? You look at, they're not the same team on the blue line. Brandon Montour.
Gone, Seattle.
Yeah, and then, what's the other? Ekman Larson.
Yeah.
Right? He's gone too. So they're not the same team. You acquire Seth Jones. You have a ton of cap space now with Matthew Tkachuk on LTIR. They're not done. They're going to go out and do something. So there's going to be a lot of teams fighting for what doesn't appear to be a massive trade market. Now,
they're going to be teams having to overpay because of the trade war element of it.
And the problem is the Golden Knights are not in a position where they're going to be able to
compete,
overpay, which means that I always rave about their pro scouting department. Those guys are going to earn their money because the Golden Knights are going to make a move as long as it's not for an ex-Red Wing.
No,
it should work out.
That's forbidden. We've talked about that. Thankfully, Gus Nyquist was already traded.
Yeah,
so we don't have to
worry.
Like
37.
Yeah. Listen, he is whatever he is, and as long as he's not here, I'm okay.
What did I don't even know what he got traded for. Like
a pick. I feel like it was a pick.
Second round pick, and I remember saying, I can't believe
overpay.
Was it Detroit?
No.
Who got him for a second round pick? The Wild.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, I feel like they overpaid by giving up a second round pick.
I think so. I think so.
That could be indicative of what we're looking at in the trade market, where a guy like that, who maybe in a normal year probably goes for a fourth or fifth, goes for a second. But
I don't know. I just think that whether he has to cash in the future considerations chip, pardon me, or
which you just got, by the way, with
which you just
Grigory Denisenko.
right?
So,
or he's got to give up a third or something like that for somebody to eat some.
well, that's what makes me think that the Predators could be in play here for a team that absorbs some cap space.
Yeah.
for the Golden Knights.
I think there's 3 or 4 teams that are probably in.
You'd have to go through like the list of guys that they've traded away for future considerations.
Right.
Like I still think one of the guys that they picked up from the waiver wire, I still feel like that was a favor called in. Someone did Kelly a solid due to future considerations.
Sure.
We don't know this for fact. It's pure speculation. But I think that's what, when people say future considerations, the future considerations are, I'm calling it a favor.
Yeah, it's a chip.
I need you to help me out.
Put a chip in a pocket.
I gave you Grigory Denisenko for
nothing.
You took him.
Thank you.
You felt he could help your team.
Thank you. Right.
And now I need you to do me a favor. I need you to retain
X.
$1 million.
Right. Whatever it is.
Yeah. Of so-and-so's salary. So I'm always fascinated by the trade deadline.
Are you excited?
I get excited. Yeah. Because listen, I hold no bones about it. I say it on the VGK Insider Show all the time. I'm not a fan of the team, but I want to see them succeed. I want to see them do well. Because it makes my job better. It makes my job more fun. And quite frankly, I make more fucking money when the Golden Knights are good. So while I'm not up in the press box cheering, yeah, get in, I still want to see the teams compete and succeed. And my mind is I'm looking ahead here. Because whoever they acquire, they're signing unless they completely flop.
And they don't do that.
Right.
I mean, they do it with some trades sometimes. But
because you're going to give up basically
substantial things.
Everything that you now have left in your cabinet here.
Right.
You're making, you know what? You're that drunk guy at 3 a.m. and you're rolling into the kitchen looking for something to eat, and you're making a sandwich with everything that you find in the kitchen. Fucking Hershey's chocolate bar on that sandwich. Why the hell not?
Peanut butter, banana, and chocolate.
There you
Sign
go.
me up.
Yeah, there you go. So you're basically giving up everything. With the exception, I don't think, unless we're talking about a Mikko Rantanen, I don't think you're giving up Trevor Connolly.
I don't think so.
Unless you're getting Mikko Rantanen or you're getting Dylan Cousins.
But you know what? We've talked about Dylan Cousins quite a bit. You know what Dylan Cousins has never done?
Played in the playoffs.
Yeah. That's kind of
so. If you're Kelly,
that's the abyss in the great unknown. That sort of.
How is he going to perform?
we know that if they bring him in, that he's going to be a character guy.
Right.
They're going to bring in guys who fit in the room. Right. But he has never experienced the ratcheted up tension. Mikko Rantanen is a proven playoff
Stanley Cup champion.
Superhero. He's a superhero in the playoffs. So I have an admission to make. Trade deadline morning, I am like a fat kid on Christmas morning. I wake up, I put on my jammies, I go downstairs. I'm not looking for fucking Santa Claus. I'm turning on the NHL network, and for 5 or 6 hours, I'm watching the pundits, every single one of them, right? And they're working their phones like a stripper looking for a client, right? They're working it because all I want to do is just take it in, right? This is the happy spot for a hockey junkie like I am, right? And I want to get angry when I see teams get players that I want, and I want to laugh when teams get players that I think suck, right?
Yeah.
And that 5 or 6 hours, call it 5 hours, say I actually make it out of bed by 7, and the trade deadline is noon. So I don't get up. I'm glued to the television. I got my bowl of Fruit Loops. I've got my cat on my lap. I'm just.
And now you got 2 cats.
Now I got 2 cats.
One of them avoids you now.
No, they're both good. They avoid each other.
Okay. But
that's another story. And then I watch an hour or two after where the pundits do the recap of stuff.
Yeah.
So my Friday, I don't get fuck all done. I don't. And,
Well, the good thing is we got a game Friday night, so you have to.
I'll show up at the game, and I'll shower before and everything
Well,
like
thank God,
that.
'cause I sit next to you,
You know, but that's trade deadline day is like the happiest day of the NHL season for me.
Yeah.
That and like the first day of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that's going to wrap up the deadline. I've got my notes here, but before we get to the last couple of segments, let's get a word in from Joe Riccio at Marathon Law Group.
I'm here with Joe Riccio from Marathon Law Group. And Joe, sometimes when couples go through divorce, one of the partners will deprive the other partner of visitation with their children. Obviously, this is never a good situation for anybody. So what steps can someone take to maybe deal with this type of issue if it arises?
Well, no, thanks, Chris. One of the most important things you can do is make sure that you have a court order. And in the state of Nevada, over the last several years, the Nevada legislature has moved towards involving both parents and finding it best for children to be involved, or parents to be involved with both children equally, both on the legal custody and the physical custody side of things. So if you're being denied time or deprived time, whether it's in a court order or not, you definitely want to take measures to prove or at least show the court that you've been making those overt efforts and that the other side has been depriving you.
So maybe like keeping a calendar or something like that and marking when you have visitation with the child, maybe marking when you should, and if you don't get visitation on that particular day.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only could you keep a calendar log, but there's applications that the parties can get into without the court for free that allow them to communicate that the court can look at when that time is right. And then there's other mechanisms that you can engage in as well, such as text messaging and emailing and making sure you're keeping those records.
All right, before we get into the preview of the last games of the homestand, which we talked about a little bit, and the road trip that's coming up, I want to run something by you. I want to talk about Adin Hill. He's caught quite a bit of flack from us over the course of a couple of years for some inconsistencies, and even Bruce has gone so far as saying things like, we need to get the save. Adin Hill was drafted to or selected for the Four Nations tournament. He did not play 1 minute.
Yeah.
But in his 2 games since he's come back, he's let in 1 goal.
Yeah.
His save percentage is in the 950s, I think, 957, if I remember what I read. How much confidence, or do you think that he got a boatload of confidence by practicing for a week and a half with literally an all-world team like Team Canada? Do you think when he came back, even though he didn't play, and he'll never tell us, but he was disappointed that he didn't get in. But the work that he got against that stacked-ass lineup in practice, do you think that he may have said to himself, and he may have put a little wind in his own sails when you're looking down the barrel of McKinnon and McDavid and Crosby, and the list goes on and on and on. Do you think that right? I mean, do you think that the Four Nations experience might propel Adin Hill back to the Adin Hill that we saw 2 years ago in the playoffs?
I think it will, because I feel like once you get there and you get through that initial, oh my God, look at the guys I'm on the ice with moment, Adin Hill is one of the most relaxed, easygoing people that I've met in this game. Like, you never see him rattled. Even when he plays bad, you don't see him angry or breaking sticks or smashing them on the cage. But confidence-wise, it's always there with him, and you can see it when he's playing well. Like, he is relaxed, but he's confident. And I don't know what the word is to describe someone like that, because it's definitely not arrogance, right? Like, he's not an arrogant guy.
It's quiet confidence.
Yes. And he's a man of few words with us. He doesn't really say a whole lot.
Nope.
Which is fine, because
We got enough players who talk to us. It's okay. I would like more from him, though.
I'm the guy who doesn't sit here and analyze goalies. I just don't understand.
We have friends for that.
Yes, right. We know people who are goalies,
Right.
and they're all a little screwy.
Yes.
Especially that Darren Millard guy.
Yeah, that Millard. But anyway.
But anyway.
Hey, Darren, we have an invitation for you if you'd like to join the podcast. Episode 107 is going to be the playoff preview, probably on April 17th or 18th. Free lunch at the best Mexican restaurant in town. Want to do the podcast, Mallard? Come on down. Sorry, shameless plug alert.
So anyway, I now that I'm all screwed up, right?
Threw you right off your game.
Yeah.
There.
So I don't try to analyze goalies. Like I make it clear. I don't understand the position. I think it takes a special kind of person to play that position in the NHL or AHL or any
beer league.
Yeah. Like no matter what happens, if you lose, you could lose a game 1-0. I listened to the post-game show with Ryan Wallace. They lose a game 1-0. People are blaming Samsonov or Adin Hill. Oh, I can't believe he let in that one goal.
Yeah, one goal on 42
on 75 shots. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like the thanks. Dominic Hasek game.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. Asshole.
So, I think it's
sorry. Oh, that's a real podcast moment. I cracked Chapman up in mid thought.
Well, it's like we're gonna have to get used to doing it in the same room together.
It is very weird. I'm not gonna lie.
But the point I'm making is Adin Hill is when he's playing at the highest level he's capable of playing. There's a very calm, relaxed, confident demeanor
vibe, yeah,
with Adin Hill. And he's been that since coming back from the Four Nations face-off. Listen, you're right. He's never going to tell us, but put yourself in that situation, you'd be fucking pissed off too.
Pride's a big thing.
You're thrilled that you won, and you could take some pride in the fact that you helped these skaters in practice, and
right.
You pushed Jordan Binnington in practice because I'm sure he did. I don't think the other guy. He probably is pissed too. Montembeault, I don't know how much he expected to play, but you go there, you want to fucking play.
Sure.
And I think since Adin Hill has come back, he was really good against Vancouver in that third period because the Canucks put up a fight. They pushed
20 shots, 18 or 19 or 20 shots.
And the game against New Jersey, he wasn't required to do, but if Paul Cotter scores that goal and the Golden Knights go down 1-0, game's probably completely different.
Has to be.
So he made the big save when he needed to. Probably the best guy for him to see coming at him in that situation because he knows Paul. But maybe not as well as Jonathan Quick. But nonetheless, Paul Cotter is a very capable NHL player, and he scored a bunch of goals for the Devils this year. So to make that save when he did, it was timely.
Yep.
And it was important because you win the game 2-0. If you give up that goal and you go down 1-0, who the hell knows?
You're chasing a tough defensive game.
Yes. Against a team that likes to score a lot of goals with players who have the ability to score a lot of goals. So I think going forward, we probably see Adin Hill against Toronto.
Oh, have to. There's no prognostication here.
You get Samsonov on Friday.
Have to.
And then you get Hill against a team that he missed because he was sick.
Yeah, that's there's no brilliance in those predictions.
Yeah, and then I don't think about, the road trip. That's for Bruce to figure out.
Okay. Quickly. Are you concerned about Samsonov?
No.
Really?
Yeah. I know what you're going to ask me.
So we'll give the folks a little bit of inside information, right? I don't think we'll get in trouble for saying it.
Well, we saw it.
So when we go in the dressing room after the game, the players are pretty well gone. They have a changing room where they get out of their uniform, and then a showering and where they change into their street clothes, which is in the back.
Right.
So when they let us in, the room is basically empty, and the players are brought out to us, as they see fit. The players were brought out after the Samsonov's last game, and we saw Samsonov come out really late, right? Normally long gone. and he looked like a broken man. You would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
he looked
dejected.
For a guy, and Bruce said in the interview, in his postgame, 2 points and a win. He's got to be happy about that. He was very specific. That wasn't a quote, but it was damn close.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He looked like a man whose confidence was gone. Gunga din, out the door, right? And we both, you like to get up close in the scrum. I stand in the back and just sort of listen because I don't really give a shit about asking questions.
Yeah.
But we were both close enough to notice to our left when Samsonov came in, and he looked really dejected.
Yeah, he was down.
And he has had some issues in previous stops where his head was his biggest adversary. It's a nice way of saying it, right?
Yeah, I think it's fair.
And this start against Pittsburgh in a game that means nothing really, it's not a conference or it's not a division game or anything like that. It's a game that they should win against a team that's a total shitbag this year.
Yeah, they're not very good.
Sorry, Sid, but your team's a shitbag. This start for him is really important. And I don't know that our good friend Sean Burke has a degree in psychology, but I bet he has a degree in goalie psychology. And I bet that he has had to really work on getting Sammy right.
Well, it's big because it's post-trade deadline, first of all.
Right. It's the first game as is.
Yeah. So if you have not acquired another goalie, it's Samsonov.
Yeah, for the route.
Or potentially Carl Lindbaum or Akira Schmid, which doesn't seem very likely.
No.
So I think you're in a situation with him where I don't know anything about his goalie coaches in the previous places, Toronto and Washington. I don't know who his coaches were. I do know who his coach is here. And I do know that Sean Burke is really good at getting the best out of his goalies.
Agree 1,000%.
He's fantastic at that, right? Like, I think you can make the case that Golden Knights may not win the Stanley Cup without the play of Adin Hill in the playoffs. And yeah, a lot of it's Adin, but a lot of it's the guy who's on his shoulder.
Listen, there's no doubt Sean Burke is the best goaltending coach in the NHL.
Clearly. He's great.
Bar none. I mean, I'm sorry, he's not the goalie coach. He's the director of goaltending. So we should clarify that. Maybe Sean will watch, and he knows we're buddies. But anyway, he is by far the best goaltending coach in the NHL. And like you said, he has this ability to get into their heads, right, and do some kind of wizardry shit.
Yeah.
Right? But there's a lot more to the Pittsburgh game if it is a Samsonov start than just a Friday night game post-trade deadline against Pittsburgh. Is this guy going to be dependable for the last 17 games? And if we need something.
Well, that's the problem, right? Like you're facing that.
Yeah.
How much faith and confidence do you have? And like you asked me, you said, am I worried? I said, no, I'm not. Because
of Berkey?
Because of Berkey. Listen, goalies are going to have ups and downs.
Yes, for sure.
The best goalies in the world have shit nights. It happens.
Hi, Igor.
Yeah. The difference is we're not banging on the door to speak to him after, or one of our goalies here when they get pulled,
right,
like the New York media did when Igor Shesterkin was pulled in the first period, which I think is a little much. But nonetheless, I'm confident that they'll get it squared away because I think he's got a guy in his corner who is going to help him as best as he can to get it squared away. You're not telling Ilya Samsonov, we need you to go out and win the Stanley Cup for us. Right? Like, that's first and foremost. He was the number one guy in Toronto, which is a shit show to begin with because the amount of pressure on a guy, especially a goalie.
Anybody in that sweater in that city.
So not everyone's built for that. I'm not built for that. I would never succeed in a city like Toronto in that market because first of all, you haven't won shit in 50-something years. Second of all, the amount of pressure on you night in, night out to be fucking Patrick Waugh or Martin Brodeur is
immense.
It's nonsensical. Here, you're not asking him to go out and win you the Stanley Cup. You're just asking him to be a reliable backup. And I think that's the difference. And I think that's why I'm not worried, because I feel like, look, early on in the year, Samsonov was the better goalie.
He was. I agree.
So,
and we talked about it. Is there change afoot?
Yeah. And I think we both agreed that there wasn't. Adin Hill would get it figured out. There's no controversy here. Ilya Samsonov is a capable NHL goalie. He went through a rough patch. I don't think it's going to continue. I think they'll get it figured out. I think he's going to get it figured out. I think in his case, he has an opportunity to play for a team that has the potential to win the Stanley Cup. And I think that has to count for something.
Fair enough. I just, like I said, I'll be very interested in watching not only his performance, but his demeanor, right? Because a lot of times goalies wear it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll be interested to see if his confidence is there. I think his confidence will be there for sure at the beginning of the game. I'll be curious to see when the first goal goes in, does he stay locked in?
Well,
stuff like
he'll have had a week.
Yeah. Oh no.
To have flushed.
He'll have plenty of time to flush a win, as weird as that is to say, but flush a win, right? I don't know. It was, I guess, shocking is probably the word I'm looking for when we saw that.
Well, the thing is,
it's worthy. It's certainly a worthy topic for us to talk about.
He doesn't have a choice.
No,
because I don't think they're making a move for a goalie.
No, I don't think so.
So he doesn't have a choice because they're going to need him to be. You look at the upcoming schedule. We already talked Pittsburgh. Like, as of today, we're recording this podcast. They have 7 games between tomorrow, Wednesday, which is the 5th of March, and the 16th of March. 7 games in 11 days. He's going to play probably 3 of them.
I would say 3.
So there's no option here. You either get the job done or you don't.
Or there's trouble in River City.
Yeah. River City sounds nice.
Yeah, right?
I don't know if we want trouble in River City.
Hey, folks, what are you doing on the 22nd of March here? Want to go to a hockey game? Want to go to a hockey game with free tickets versus the Detroit Red Wings? Original six, the mighty Detroit Red Wings. You want to park for free at the game and sit in the lower bowl? How about having pregame dinner with Chris Chapman and I? The Golden Giveaway, episode, I think that's the 4th time we'll be doing it this year. 4th?
We've done 4 ticket giveaways. Yeah. This will be the 4th one.
Yeah. The 4th iteration of the Golden Giveaway is for Saturday, March 22nd, 7 p.m. puck drop against the mighty Detroit Red Wings. Free tickets in the lower bowl, courtesy of Joe Riccio and Boris over at Marathon Law. Free parking, pregame dinner at El Dorado Cantina on Sammy Davis Jr. Boulevard with Chapman and I. And maybe, just maybe, if we can figure out a way to pull it off, we might be able to give you a tour of the press box. We still got to get permission for that, so don't hold us to that part. But a lot of people wonder what the hell we do up there other than eat popcorn and talk shit about each other. So maybe we'll be able to give you a chance to watch the warm-ups down from ice level and take you on a tour of the press box before you head down to the fantastic seats provided by Marathon Law Group. I want to thank our sponsors, as always. The Las Vegas Advisor at lasvegasadvisor.com. Our good friend Anthony Curtis, also a good friend of dearly departed Joe Payne, who got this podcast its original sponsorship back a few years ago, by my very good friend Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, and by the aforementioned Joe Riccio and Boris on at the Marathon Law Group, marathonlawgroup.com. So that's going to wrap up episode 101. Episode 102 will be coming to you next week. Chapman's going to be here in the brand new for us anyways, the Origin Podcast Studios. When you comment Stone, is that what we said it was going to be?
Stone.
And when you comment Stone, comment on the new digs. Tell us what you think of this new setup. Chapman and I are going to have an interesting conversation about how this episode went, because it was a little awkward and weird to be looking at each other like this for this long a
Yeah, because
time.
the only other time we've done live, we've been side to side and we've been
right.
looking straight ahead. So
So yeah, but let us know how we did, because we're going to do the next 7 or 8 episodes based here at the Origin Podcast Studios somewhere in Las Vegas.
I like it.
I kind of dig it. I think it's a great step.
I'll be honest. I like the way I sound.
Well,
Normally I sound like shit
well,
at home
I guess
or somewhere else, but I feel like I sound a lot better here, a lot more clear, concise.
I guess when the production team of Tyus and Tom get a hold of it, we'll see how we both sound.
Yeah.
But hey, let us know how we're doing. If you like the new digs, if you would rather see us on Zoom and be a little bit more blurry and sound worse, whatever you like. We do thank you for subscribing and liking the podcast, commenting. We love to hear from you. We've still got another couple surprises in store for you at the end of regular season, so do make a good choice and come back and watch some more episodes of Hockey Night in Vegas. That's a wrap for episode 101. We are out of here.